Hi everyone, this is Demi. So in this video I would like to talk about the board game Dixit and specifically about the edition Odyssey. So it's Dixit Odyssey. And Dixit Odyssey is basically just a revised edition of board game Dixit. So it's not an extension or anything like that. It's just a revised edition of Dixit that is for up to 12 players, whereas the original Dixit, I think, it's for up to 6 players. So this and basically just the setup design and the images on the cards is the only difference, but the rules of the game remain the same. And what I would like to do is, in this video I would like to talk about the game in general, kind of review the game and do a little bit of show and tell. And in some of my future videos I would like to talk about some of the actual extensions of the game, which is basically just cards. And I would like to talk about how you can use the extension or the cards for Dixit in other ways than just for playing the game. Okay. As you can see, what I have in front of me is once again the Czech edition of the game. We can see it from the sentence. Let's read it out loud. Jeden obrázek řekne více než 1000 slov. Which means a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that's basically what Dixit is about. It's about how different images or pictures can spark up different associations and moods and emotions, and in turn different words to describe them. As you can see on the cover of the box, we have an open book and an airship flying over the book, and some kind of palace or a town with a tower that has a tree growing inside of it, and another tower with weird circular windows and a cool bridge, and some buildings and some houses that are snow covered. And this picture on the cover of the box kind of gives you an idea of what the game is gonna be like. So the experience of playing Dixit is really close to this image, or to the experience of this image. It's really playful, it's dreamy, it's a little bit silly, and very, very imaginative. Okay, let's open up this box and see what we have inside of it. Okay, so up here we have the Czech rulebook, and as you can see, It's only 2 pages. 1, 2. And right here we have the Slovakian rulebook. So the Czech and Slovakian often come together, as in this case. So this is just the Czech rulebook. But I have the English rulebook right here on my iPod. Okay, as you can see, it's only 2 pages. And actually, the second page is for the variation of the game with 6 to 12 players, which I'm probably not gonna talk about because I don't know how to play with 6 to 12 players. I've always played Dixit with basically less than 7 players. So all I know is how to play Dixit with 3 to 6 players. And that's just the first page of the rulebook. Okay, we have the box contents. There is 1 scoreboard, 84 image cards, 12 voting boards, 24 voting tokens, 12 wooden rabbits, and 1 rulebook. Okay, and as you can see, there is no aim of the game, there is no goal of the game. So the only goal that we have written here is to reach 30 points. So you keep gathering points throughout the game, and once you reach 30 points you win. And there are basically 3 ways through which you can gather or reach the 30 points. So, and the most important way through which you can reach the 30 points is through describing images. So every player gets 6 image cards, and these image cards are just as weird and crazy as we could saw on the cover of the box. I would say even a little bit sillier. So every player gets 6 of these cards, and then the players take turn describing one of the cards that they have in hands, and then they let the other players guess which image they were describing. And the goal is to describe the image in a way that not everybody would guess it, but somebody would. So basically you have to hit the golden spot between completely obvious, transparent description and a description that is completely off and not relevant to the image at all. And what it basically means is that you usually have to describe not what you see in the image, because that would be a very obvious way of describing it, but rather what you associate with the image. This is why Dixit is sometimes called an empathic game, because it gives you an advantage if you have a good idea of what others might associate with the image. So after you describe your image, you put it in the middle on the table face down, and then all the other players choose a card of their own from what they have in their hands that is closest to the description and added to the card. Then all the cards are shuffled, turned face up so that everybody can see them, and then the players try to guess the image you described. I hope I'm making sense. In my opinion, it's not really well explained in the rulebook. They say basically that you just describe the image, or not even describe. This is what it says basically. One of the players is the storyteller for the turn. He or she examines the 6 image cards in their hand. Using one of them, they think of something to say and say it out loud. So, in my opinion, for somebody who has never played the game, the rulebook does not really succeed in capturing the goal of the game, which is really the starting point for me. I have to understand what the goal of the game is before I start playing it, or even before I start reading the rules. So this is basically me interpreting the goal of the game. So describing the card and hitting the golden spot between totally obvious description, a description that is not relevant to the image at all, is one of the ways in which you can reach 30 points and win the game. But there are actually 2 secondary ways through which you can reach some points and gain 30 points. And these ways or means happen during the scoring time of the game. So once all the cards are shuffled and placed face up on the table and the guessing stage begins, you can actually gain points by guessing correctly the original image, the one that the storyteller actually described, and you can also get points if you chose an image that somebody guessed incorrectly. So basically you were able to pick an image out of the ones that were in your hand that is closer to the description than the original image, at least for someone. So these are basically the 2 secondary means through which you can gain points. So it's either through describing the image, through guessing the right image, and through choosing an alternative image for the original description. So these are the 3 ways in which you can gain 30 points that you need in order to win the game. Okay, I think you will understand the game a little bit better if we can actually look at the cards. Okay, so this is the inside of the box. Okay, so here we have the scoring board. As you can see, there are numbers on it, and what you will do is that you basically will connect it like this, and you're gonna be moving on this board to indicate how many points do you have so far. And once you get to this place with the number 30, you win. So this is the scoring board. these are the wooden bunnies, and these are basically the figures that represent the players. Let's have a look at them. Okay, so we have a brown bunny, we have a yellow bunny, we have a red bunny, we have a light green bunny, black bunny, grey or silver bunny, purple bunny, pink bunny, orange bunny, white bunny, green bunny, and blue bunny. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bunnies. So each player picks one bunny, and with to each bunny there is a corresponding I don't know how do you call this. Let me have a look. I think these are the voting boards. Yeah. So we have it, the voting boards. So to each bunny there is a corresponding voting board. Let's have a look at them. So we have the blue voting board for the blue bunny. We have the black voting board. We have the purple voting board. The red voting board. a light green voting board. I think this is the pink one. This is the normal green. And the brown voting board. The white one. The grey one. And lastly, the orange one. Okay, so each player picks a color basically and gets the corresponding bunny and the corresponding voting board. Okay, let's put this away and let's look at the cards that we have. And these are the Dixit cards. So these are basically the most important component of the game. So let's have a look at them. So, as you can see, all of these cards are somewhat nonsensical, somewhat dreamy or silly or crazy. Some of them are a little bit more realistic, or I don't know, they kind of make sense, like this one for example. You have some ice pieces and one of them has some bushes growing on it, but some others are just simply silly or weird, like this one. There is like some kind of macho guy with a bird head building a pyramid, I guess. So some of these images are really silly, some of them are funny, some of them are more of a dreamy, kind of like an kind of fairy tale like atmosphere, and some of them are, I don't know, straight up mysterious, like this one for example. And as you can see, each of these images can be described in a very factual kind of way. Like you can describe the first one as a typewriter or a tubes, and everybody would guess it. You know, if you for example had, let me just put this away so that I can show it more properly. So for example, if you describe this image and the other players would put up cards that look like this, they would of course try to pick out the cards that look closest to your description, but sometimes that's just not possible. So they would, for example, pick out these, and you would describe your image as a typewriter or tubes or I don't know, something like that. It would be really obvious which of these pictures you are describing. And even when you describe the associations with your image. So, for example, you would say Virginia Woolf because she was a writer. So, even in that case, it's quite, even though not so much, it's quite obvious what image you are describing. So, you have to go a little bit further with your descriptions and the associations with your descriptions. So maybe you would describe this image as something like for example, something like creative energy. So there are these tubes that are sort of connecting to the typewriter as if maybe they are fueling the creative energy. So this is the association that some people might get, and when you actually combine this picture together with these, the creative energy maybe for some people best describes this picture and they can vote for it, but for some other people creative energy might be the best description, for example, for this picture, as if the creative energy leaving the brain of this man on this picture. Or maybe creative energy that is wasted on these TV programs, I don't know. So something a little bit more general that can be applicable to at least some of these pictures is usually the best descriptor. I am usually guilty of choosing some weird and not relevant descriptions or descriptors, so other players usually make fun of me. They are the people that sometimes use very obvious and factual descriptions, and then there are the ones that use like totally off and not relevant descriptions, and I'm definitely the second type, so I have to make sure that I am using something that somebody would actually connect with the picture. So for example, the way that I might have described this picture would be like the huge question or the big question, because there are some little question marks on this card, if you can see that. I don't know if you can see that. So there are these question marks. So I would be, describing this card as a huge question or a huge question mark, and nobody would see the question mark on this. So you really have to be careful about trying to stay away of one of the extremes, either describing the card too obviously or describing the card too weirdly or not really relevantly for other players. Okay, so I hope I could explain as best as possible the process of describing the cards, and now we can have a look at the example round or the example turn of the game. Okay, let's try one round in this game. Let's shuffle the image cards first. It's gonna be a little bit difficult. I might try and shuffle them half and half. diagonal. Okay. So, and I'm gonna be pretending that I'm 4 players at once. I have picked out 4 bunnies and 4 scoring or voting boards. This is the voting board, these are the voting boards, and this is the scoring board. So I have blue bunny with blue voting board, red bunny with red voting board, black bunny with black voting board, and purple bunny with purple voting board. And now each of the players receives 5 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there are basically no rules for who comes as the first player. It's basically whoever comes with the first description for one of their cards that they have in hand goes first. It's actually even written in the rule book. Let's see it. I think it's right up here. So picking the first storyteller of the game. The first player to think of something to say should announce to the other players that he or she will be the storyteller for the first game turn. Okay? So that's what we are going to do. So I'm gonna look at the cards of this imaginary player and try to think of something that can describe one of the cards that I have in hand. Okay, I have some kind of adventurer exploring a claw print and a monster or a dragon. Okay, there is a little planet with signs. Actually, for this card, it's really a usual descriptor, little prints. I hope that's the English equivalent. So the little prince is one of the most frequent descriptors for this card, and usually it's it's so obvious for the people who played who have already played Dixit, then that they usually just know when somebody uses little prince, they mean this card. Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm just gonna go with this, is a description of this card as Finland, because me and my husband just came back from Finland where we were for our holiday, and they are absolutely crazy for licorice there. Everything is made out of licorice. They just love it, and as much as I love Finland, I really hate licorice. So that's the first thing that came to my mind, and I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna use it. So what I'm saying out loud is Finland as the description of my card, and I'm putting this card face down. And now I'm gonna explore the cards of the other players and we'll try to find a card that matches the description Finland as best as possible. Okay? Okay, so this is proving to be a little bit more difficult than I expected. But I'm probably gonna use this one just because that it sort of reminds me of a polar night in Finland. So basically they have half of the year they live in the dark and they need lots of light. It's a little bit of a stretch but that's the best I can do with those cards. So I'm gonna choose this one and put it together with the first one. Then I'm gonna have a look at this one, this player's cards. Okay, and whew, okay, so this is gonna be really difficult. This is probably the safest choice because the butterfly actually has a map on its wings, so it would actually make a sense to have this card, to choose this card under the descriptor of a country. And maybe this shape a little bit reminds me of Finland, so I'm probably gonna go with this. Probably gonna go with this card. Okay, and the last player. And I think it's pretty clear. I'm gonna go with this one, even though in Finland I think they don't have polar bears. But nevertheless, I'm gonna go with this card because it just reminds me of the north. Let me just have a look and see. Yeah, I think that's the best card out of them. Okay, so and what I will do now is that I will shuffle these cards and then put them under these slots on the scoring board. So this is gonna be the card number 1, this is gonna be the card number 2, the original card is gonna be card number 3, and the last one is gonna be number 4. And then I'm gonna put these players away so that we have space for the voting boards. Okay. And now each of the player receives one of these packs or tokens, voting tokens. When you play with up to 6 players, the colors of the packs don't really matter. They are basically they start to matter when you play with more than 6 players. say that the original player is the blue one. So the blue one, the blue player in this game does not vote, because obviously he knows which of these cards is the original one. So the blue one doesn't vote. Now the red one, the next one, we know that the red one, the red player, chose this card, so he will not vote for his card. It is forbidden, and it actually doesn't make any sense for him to vote for his card, because he knows it's not the original one. So he has to choose between these three cards. And let's say that he believes that the original card is the one with the polar bear. So he will put the pack in the slot for 2, and he covers it up. So this is actually a little bit awkward with Dixit Odyssey, because with the first edition, with the Dixit board game, you actually had voting tokens that you can put face down, and then you would flip them face up, so you wouldn't have to be covering it, so that the other players would not see what card are you voting for. But with Dixit Odyssey you have to cover it up. So let's say it is covered up, and let's move to the other player. And he's the one who chose the butterfly, I think, so he has to choose between these 3 cards. And let's say he actually will choose the red one. Yep, let's say he chooses 3. Okay, and he covers it up. And the last one, that's the one who actually chose the polar bear, so he has to choose between these 3, and he chooses the 4th one. Okay, and now that everybody has voted, they can reveal the voting boards, and we can see who has received the more votes. And here comes the voting part of the game, or the scoring part of the game. So the scoring is probably the most difficult part of the game, so let's read it for ourselves. So scoring right here. If all players find the storyteller's image, or if no player finds it, the storyteller scores no points, and the other players each score 2 points. So this is luckily not our case, because this is the original card and 1 person voted for it. In any other case, the storyteller scores 3 points, as does any player who has found the storyteller's image. Okay, so in this case the storyteller was the blue player, so the blue rabbit scores 3 points. And the player who guessed correctly is the black rabbit, or the black player, and he also scores 3 points. Okay. Each player other than the storyteller scores 1 bonus point for each vote earned by his or her image. So that is the case that I was talking about earlier. You can actually score points not by describing the picture correctly or by guessing the picture, but by actually choosing the right alternative picture. So we can see that apart from the number 3, the number 2 and 4 were voted. So these two, 2 and 4, the red bunny and the purple bunny. So red bunny and purple bunny get 1, each get 1 bonus point. Okay, so I hope that this example turnaround was at least a little bit helpful for you to understand the game and to understand how the game is played. If you've never played Dixit, I really recommend it. It's a great board game for beginners. It's really easy to explain and it's really easy to get into. I really recommend when you like Dixit, when you like playing it and you are actually a little bit more experienced in it, to get some of the extensions, because once you get used to your set of cards, the descriptions start to repeating itself. So it's amazing to have as many cards as possible. It makes so much more fun. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and I will be back with the video for the extensions for Dixit. Have a great time. Bye.